Off-camera flash photography is not hard to do once you've learned the basics, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. My name's Ed Vorosky, and I'm going to explain what off-camera flash is, why photographers use it. We're going to talk about what flash sync is, what gear you need to get started with off-camera flash, and how to set up and use your off-camera flash. All right, so what is off-camera flash? Basically, off-camera flash is flash that's not mounted to the camera. More importantly, the idea is that the flash isn't being directed toward the subject from the camera position. This way, you're going to avoid the straight-ahead flash look that tends to be associated with amateurish photography. Flash that is off-camera is usually controlled wirelessly, so your flash units can be anywhere in the scene and you can control them from one central location, usually with a controller that's attached to your camera. And this is called a flash trigger, and we're going to get to that in a second. Off-camera flash is definitely used in professional lighting setups, and these setups can consist of one or more remote flash or strobe units. All right, so why do photographers often prefer off-camera flash? As we talked about before, you avoid the straight-ahead flashy look, and using off-camera flash offers the advantages of more controlled lighting. You can also run multiple lights with precise control. This way you can get any effect that you can dream up. This includes classic lighting patterns using key and fill light and hair light and kicker light and background lights. And because of the control that you get, you're going to get consistent, repeatable results from shot to shot, and you're going to easily be able to reproduce portrait styles from session to session. Also with flash, you're not going to be limited by natural light, meaning you're not limited by the time of day or the changing weather conditions. Let's talk about flash sync. Now, there are different types of flash sync. First, let's talk about what flash sync is. Now, the flash units in your lighting setup need to fire when you click the shutter. So your flash needs to be in sync with your camera, and that's what we mean by flash sync. The current standard way of doing this is with wireless radio triggers and compatible flash units usually with receivers built in. There are two types of triggers and receivers, and there are the so-called dumb versions that only function as simple triggers with no control over the flash settings from the trigger position. That's fine. That can work with a lot of types of setups. But these days, the more commonly used types of wireless triggers are the type that can control everything, including passing along the camera's TTL signals to the flash units. Well, let's just call those smart triggers. Other types of sync include wireless optical triggers, flash sync cables, which of course is not a wireless solution, and you can run one or more of your flash units in something called S1 or S2 modes, which are modes that we're not covering in this video. Again, most of the time what we're going to be using are our modern smart radio triggers. Getting started with off-camera flash is pretty easy. You're going to need a camera with a hot shoe, and traditionally this is where you would mount an external flash, but you can also mount your wireless flash trigger here. So you'll also need the flash trigger, and it needs to be compatible with your specific camera brand and model, and it also needs to be compatible with the flash that you're going to be using. You'll also need one or more compatible flash units. Lots of times the triggers and the flash units are part of an ecosystem that just work together. So usually the flash units have a built-in radio receiver that picks up the signals from the trigger located on your camera. You'll also need some way to position your flash units where you want them. This would involve a light stand, a flash bracket, and probably you're going to want a lighting modifier like an umbrella or a softbox. All right, keep in mind, I'm going to run through several setup steps, but just know that you won't have to do all these steps every time you set up your flash units for a portrait session. The flash units and the triggers usually remember the last settings that you used. All right, so first you're going to mount the trigger to your camera's hot shoe. You're going to secure your flash to your light stand, power on the camera, the flash, and the trigger. You might need to adjust the flash setting on your camera for the trigger to work with your camera. You'll have to take a look at your manual, experiment a little bit with that. Set your flash as a remote. This is sometimes called slave mode. Make sure your flash and trigger are on the same channel. Here I'm on channel 1, and I've got this flash set to group A. If you're using several flashes, you can assign them to different groups so that they can all have different power settings. But here, we're just working with this one flash unit, and it's, like I said, on group A. I can press this button to tell the trigger I want to control the one or more flash units that I've assigned to group A, and I can do things like set the flash power manually or set this group to TTL mode. Now all you need to do is place your flash where you want it, do some test shots, and make any adjustments needed for the look that you want. All right, so to wrap this up, to start using off-camera flash, you're going to need a camera with a hot shoe, a flash trigger, and a compatible flash unit, at least one. These must be compatible with your camera, and you're going to need a light stand with a bracket and modifier. And that's basically it. The rest is about getting the settings right and using good technique. Okay, that's about all I've got for you today. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment or question for me. Also, check out that link for my course on flash photography for portraits. See you next time.